There you go.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the February 15th, 2022 City Council meeting for City of Angels. It is 6 o'clock on the nose. Rose, can we do roll call?
Mayor Brolio?
Present.
Vice Mayor Herndon?
Present.
Councilmember Tiscornia?
Here.
Councilmember Moncada?
Present.
Councilmember Sherrato?
Present.
Staff is present.
Next will be number 2, Pledge of Allegiance. I will take on the new City Administrator, Ms. Rebecca.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Next is item 3, report out of closed session. Direction was given to staff on item A and B. Next is number 4, proclamation of the week of February 14th through the February 18th, 2022 as Kindness Week in the City of Angels, and further deem the city as a random act of kindness zone. So, is Mr. Brigance here tonight? Oh, there he is. Hi, Jim.
Need somebody to talk?
No, I just didn't know if you want to say anything, feel free to step up there, and I'll read the proclamation after that.
Yeah, so thank you, City of Angels Camp, where this all started in 1995. Still believe in kindness. So anyhow, last year we took the year off because of COVID, weren't sure what to do. You guys all know about the blue ribbons. Some of you went to school with my kids' school, Isabel.
Yep.
Anyhow, so anyhow, we took the week off, took the year off for the ribbons, and then talked to the county office of education, who's really co-sponsored or been at the center of all this stuff in all these years. And I asked Scott what to do, and we talked about it, and we came up with the idea that these little wristbands would be really cool for the kids this year. So we bought 5,000 wristbands, and they've been distributed like the ribbons used to be in the old days, right? Mm-hmm. Through the schools, and they're going to celebrate Kindness Day on Thursday. That's the national day, but we do it for the whole week, and you could do it all year actually. But the whole idea is to take these little wristbands and wear them, and so I brought some for you guys tonight if you'd like, and for the audience if they'd like. And the hope is really to plant the seeds of kindness. We have the Seeds of Kindness website, as you know, and make kindness a topic, and then maybe a decision, and hopefully an action. And what these kindness wristbands say this year, courtesy of my lovely bride, who is brilliant and always comes up with great things. And what she thought would be good is kindness starts with me. I thought, perfect, because that's really that's the whole idea with all this stuff.
Right.
So anyhow, here are the wristbands, so thank you very much, and I will leave a bunch for you to share. And if the audience wants some, they can get them, I guess, so this is the council people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Take a bunch, I'll just leave them all there for you.
No, here, pass them around.
Thank you.
There's some.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So anyhow,
Thank you.
if you want to read the proclamation, that'd be cool.
I will.
Really, can I just say something really quick?
Yeah, go for it.
Jim, I just wanted to say how excited I was to see this. We were in 3rd grade, I think, in 1995 when we got to do this for the first time. So it's really exciting just to see that it's still alive and it's still going. And so thank you.
Well, perseverance and, the idea of people being nicer to one another is timeless, right? So,
Definitely.
I always think each year we really need it more.
I
But this
agree.
year, boy, we really need it.
I'm going to wear one on both wrists.
And, it started with a book. Judy and I read this book about kindness and random acts of kindness, and it was about stuff done in the Bay Area. It was like, buy the person behind you in Starbucks a cup of coffee. And so we got the book and we read it, and then I got pretty excited. In the back it said, if you want to do kindness in your community, you can do it. I go, so we started, and Mark Twain was really at the center. Angels Camp was at the heartbeat of the thing. So from there it went all around. So been grateful that people have acknowledged this as being a good thing. So, but it started right here.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's a great thing.
Kindness Zone, your city engineer at the time had said, why don't we get those signs made, And we did, right?
Uh-huh.
The zones, yeah.
So anyhow, it's Kindness Zone.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do I have to open up public comment? Is there any public that would like to speak to it at the moment or anything? Okay. Seeing none, I will read the proclamation. So the City of Angels Camp Proclamation. Whereas the City of Angels recognize the value of acts of kindness that are performed without prompting or reason, and how these acts can positively impact the persons offering kindness, the person receiving the act of kindness, and those witnessing. And whereas the act of kindness can be performed by any person in the City of Angels, regardless of age, origin, education, gender, religious belief, lifestyle, or abilities, for the good of those around them. And whereas kind individuals can create a more caring community and help to perpetuate genuine acts of kindness within their city, state, and even throughout the world. And whereas we seek to cultivate thoughtful and compassionate residents by teaching our youth to make the difference through random acts of kindness. And whereas Random Acts of Kindness Week is recognized as an international celebration intended to encourage all of the practice acts of kindness in our homes, schools, businesses, and communities. Now, therefore, and be it resolved that I, Alvin Brolio, Mayor of Angels Camp, California, hereby proclamate February 14th through the 18th, 2022, as City of Angels Random Act of Kindness Week, and encourage the people of Angels to practice random acts of kindness in the spirit and compassion of kindness and goodwill towards all persons. I, in witness, therefore, have hereunto set my hands and caused the official seal of the City of Angels, California, to be affixed the 15th day of February, 2022. Thank you very much, Jim. I appreciate it. Item number 5 will be council appointment. You already sliding out. Review application and appoint one planning commission member to fill the vacancy of council member Dean with a term set to expire June 30th of 2022. So Miss Amy, I think your name, and it is, was on this one.
Mr. Mayor, council members, I have not met Mr. Whittle. There you are. I give to you, Mr. Joe Whittle.
Okay, well, after reading all of it over, Joe, I think you're the man for the job. So Rose, do you have to, what do we?
We don't have to swear him in.
There's none.
Obviously, I don't have any interview questions. He is the only applicant.
Right.
So you can appoint him.
Yep. Okay. So I will open up, I guess, public comment at this moment. Is there any public comment?
I realize there's only one applicant tonight, but I realize too that most people don't know Joe Whittle, even though he's been here for a long, long time. So I would ask the council if maybe Joe could say a few words about who he is and why he would consider this such an esteemed appointment.
Deal. So Joe, come on up, say a little bit about yourself, and then we'll give you a few questions too, maybe.
So I am Joe Whittle. Pleasure to meet you for the first time tonight. Thank you, Amy. Born and raised in Angels Camp. As my application says, I'm about 8 generations deep here. I left after graduating high school, I left to go to college at Shasta, Modesto, and Cal Poly. After that, I went into a career of environmental cleanup. So started in Avila Beach, worked my way up into Sacramento, and kind of worked throughout the 90s, cleaning up hazardous spills, military bases during the 90s when all those closed, a whole bunch of gas tanks throughout the country, all over. And then a couple other short careers, but moved back to Angels Camp a couple years ago, and excited about the direction of the city, and wanted to jump in and help. So I don't know if that helps or not.
Perfect, thank you. Any council members have any questions for him at the moment, or staff?
I don't have a question, but I do want to say thank you. Sitting on this side, I realize how difficult it can be to get people to want to participate, and so I am appreciative of that, and I applaud it.
Thank you.
Can you, so we can see your face? Just so.
Just don't breathe, hold your breath.
So that's what he'll look like starting tomorrow.
Yes, at 12:01. Okay, so thank you, Joe, I appreciate it. Thanks for stepping up. And at this moment, I guess we will, well, we need a motion. So I would look for a motion to appoint Joe.
I will make the motion.
Isabel with first, Gretel with second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And one abstain. Okay,
Congratulations,
now we can
Joe.
clap. Congratulations, Joe. Will you
good idea.
grab, get him when we get it?
Thank you.
Thanks, Deb. Welcome back. Okay, so next is number 6, which would be approval of the agenda. If there's no public comment or anybody have any questions about the agenda, I would look for a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll move.
I'll second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed, same sign. 5-0. Next is number 7, public comment. The public may address the council on any items of public interest not otherwise on the agenda that is within the jurisdiction of the city. No action may be taken. Matters to be addressed may be referred to city staff or placed on a subsequent meeting agenda. Speakers are limited to 5 minutes per person. Is there anybody with any public comment at the moment? Please step up to the mic.
Hi, Veronica Matilde, 631 Lakeview Court. I have a question. I know that, and it might have already been answered long ago, there was going to be a meeting with Citygate, the company that helped us plan for our future, and I know that that checkup was budgeted in quite some time ago, and I was wondering, since that didn't happen, what was that dollar amount and where did those funds then get transferred to? Is that in general or?
So at this moment, Veronica, I would probably tell you to swing by the city and
Yeah.
see staff there, and they can direct you in the right direction.
Or just, I'll get your information, that I can contact you afterwards, and I can send it to you. Did you hear me? Okay. That's okay. I will get your information, so I can contact you with regards to where it's at and status. Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Any other public comment at the moment?
Well, then, I believe the amount was 60 or 65,000.
Yeah. It's 65, but I'll follow up with that.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. At that moment, then, I will close public comment, and we will move on to item number 8, consent agenda. Is there any member of the public or staff or council that would like to pull anything off of the consent agenda?
I would like to pull item A.
Okay, anybody else want to pull anything off the consent agenda? If not, I will look for a motion to approve B and C.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, I will second that motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed, same sign? 5-0 on D and C. Isabel, you have the floor on A.
I just wanted to make a correction to item 11, and the correction would be that the second was made by Councilmember Tiscornia. I'm listed both as who made the motion and who made the second, and it was actually Gretel.
Oh, on adjournment.
So just make the correction to that.
Okay, so I would look for a motion then to approve A with 11 showing Isabel as the first and Gretel as the second, correct?
Correct.
You want to make first?
Oh, sure, I'll make that first. I'll make that motion.
I'll second her motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So A is 5-0 with that. Okay, next we move on to regular agenda. Give me 1 second. Okay. 9A, which is department updates, second quarter budget information, current projects, upcoming projects, and future items, all department staff reports. Are we doing any, are we just kind of, is
Kinda
Terry
just
here?
winging it.
Just kind of winging it.
Okay, deal.
So staff is present if you have any questions.
Correct.
Per direction, they provided the information that you needed.
Yep.
And then if, as you read or have any questions, you're able to contact them to come up to the podium. The only ones that are not in attendance are Martin. He
Yep.
had a prior engagement. And then Rams had one too.
Okay.
For budget. But Rebecca's here, she can speak a little bit about the budget.
Yeah, if you have any questions specifically about the financial status, I can answer.
So for me, the financial status thing is, I mean, I kind of looked over it a little bit. We're not sitting horribly in anything bad.
No.
At mid-year.
No.
We kind of looked to be on track. I mean, was there anything major that popped out that you saw?
There's really nothing major.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is once we kind of get caught up on the accounting side, and we can do a more thorough budget analysis, I'm going to be bringing those forward for updates to the council, and they'll be a little bit more, I guess, robust than this. And specifically, I do know that there are some budget adjustments that we do need to make. One of them is spoken to a little bit through the Public Works one, but there's a few line items that just kind of miss the mark, and there's a complete and total valid reason for that. So I will be bringing that information, I'm hoping by March, but
It's only 2 weeks away.
yeah, we'll have to see.
Those are big goals.
So I'll have to see. I'm continuing to make adjustments and corrections as we're going through them, but it's a lot of information that is having to kind of get poured over right now. So, but definitely there will be budget adjustments that need to come to the council.
Okay.
Some of them will be on the revenue side, some of them are going to be on the expenditure side. So, but all in all, I think we're in pretty good shape.
Okay. Any other council member have any questions or anything at the moment? Okay. I would just like to say, like, Destination Angels Camp, you put like your whole, what do you want to call it? Like,
Background.
yeah, your whole background in there. Police had one. Lorba, you had thank you for your updates and letting me know kind of what's going on. I think this is something we need to do a little more often as things go forward, maybe. And I know like Chris doesn't enjoy hopping up there, and hopefully Flynn doesn't like hopping up in front of everybody, but maybe we get him up there every now and then. But thank you for the brief overview from everybody. I really appreciate it. And
Very educational.
it was good and educational, so.
I agree. I would like to say that it's all super informational. I learned from all of them. I do have a couple questions for Rebecca. I'm sorry, Rebecca, you're gonna hate me. I was gonna call you, but it's only because I get hounded. Everybody seems to ask, what's going on the grade road? What's going on? How much longer? Blah, blah, blah. So your analysis answers a lot of the questions, but I guess the overall is how much longer? Because this is like, if you look at the 80 days plus the 21 days, and then all the changes and all the unknowns that we've found. So is there light at the end of our tunnel?
No, it'll never be done.
I know.
No, we just haven't run into, I think we haven't found buried bones. That's the only problem.
Right.
Oh, you
Well,
better
don't
not say
well,
that.
say that, because you're going to knock on wood.
So, no. The current schedule is to be mostly done by the
End of February.
End of February.
Awesome.
They were targeting, they can't promise end of February. We have things like asphalt patch plants shut down for the
Yeah.
winter, but we need asphalt, so we've got things like that going on. But Rob Shackelford is the resident engineer for this project. He's doing a fantastic job. He'd be much harder on the contractor than I would be. So he's really riding them to stay on the schedule. So
Good.
he's doing his best. But,
Understand.
yeah, messy work, for sure.
And then your little table here that does talk about the funding and then budget spent and budget remaining. Those two columns are blank, but I'm sure we've spent money.
We have spent a lot of money.
I know.
I took this project over from Jennifer Maxwell.
Yeah.
The funding
We don't-
is confusing. Not confusing. There's a lot of different funding sources.
Yeah.
We have things like we have work that's done on Demarest that we can't use federal funds on because the road classification is not high enough. So there's a lot of that I need to straighten out. So
Okay.
I apologize.
Well, we look forward to that when it's available.
And that's one of the areas that Rebecca and I are going to be working through, because that's kind of part of the area where we're trying to kind of go through the budget, where the actuals are, where the different funding sources were put, what those balances are, what the intention was within the respective project budget. So we'll be going through that as well.
Right. And then with respect to the roadway safety sign audit, this is the one, no, sorry, take it back. The Angels Creek Trail project. You mentioned that there's risk of, obviously, we would have to pay back any funding, PE funds, if we don't secure right-of-way. What's that timeline? What's that? It says,
Yeah, no, I read that, because Jennifer Maxwell prepared this for you.
oh,
in
gotcha,
December,
and she's not here with us,
It
yeah.
wasn't posted. So when I saw that, I was like, that's a little worrisome, so I reached out to Amber Collins at
Yes.
COG to talk about that. So we were discussing it. I don't have an awesome answer for you.
Okay, well, I mean, it's in the works, it looks like. I just want to make sure somebody's got that in their wheelhouse.
But
Someone's like,
it's very worrisome to say, we're spending all this money, and if we don't find the next phase,
yeah, we have to.
what happens? So,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay,
lots of fun things to figure out.
to figure out.
I'm sorry, I'll have answers for you.
Yeah, no, hey, we'll figure it out together. Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Any other council member, staff? Okay, I will open up for public comment. Is there any public that wants to speak to anything? Okay, close public comment, and thank you for all the reports, everybody.
I do have
It
one
was-
question. So are we going to do this type of format instead of the consolidated report format, or should I just review it with Rebecca? To see what you guys want, so.
I like all of the departments updating. This was extreme. This was like a year-end or whatever.
Right.
That's a big one.
But I do like all of the departments to update, even though it might carry over from the month before. I don't know.
I agree with that.
So you
And I
want-
do
I like
like
all
it being on
departments.
regular rather than just being like correspondence or what have you, because then we could chat about it like this. So I do like that, Rose.
Okay.
I don't know.
I would agree with that.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be as elaborate.
I know, this is,
Right.
yeah, this is
No,
a lot of
and
work.
this was to
Right.
kind of help her as well.
I think this was kind of to help me, and
Okay.
then also,
I thought it was me.
Yeah, I think there's also been there
Learning
hasn't
curve.
been some updates for a while. So
Right,
I think
this
this
was
was
just
just
a-
kind of do a real good, thorough
Okay.
update, and then going forward, we kind of have our benchmarks of what's what's kind of in the works, and then we can give kind of more streamlined updates.
Even quarterly.
Yeah, that's- I would say
Something like
quarterly.
that. Quarterly is nice.
But we always get a mid-year budget, kind of where we're at. That already happens.
Right.
And then when we do budget, Roarbaugh and those guys give us kind of an update of what they've done during the year too, so there's some really good one-on-one time there, once we can get back to in-person stuff too.
Right.
So do we eliminate the consolidated report?
Do you want a monthly consolidated report, or do you want a quarterly, have all these guys sitting here and we can ask any questions we want of them? What does council want?
I don't know that everybody needs to be here quarterly.
Okay.
I mean, personally, I think people have a lot going on.
Yeah.
So if there's something urgent that needs to get dealt with, then yes, but otherwise, I don't.
Okay, so
I don't-
would you like this quarterly, like this big packet quarterly?
No.
No, okay. So just the
Not yet.
consolidated report, and if we have a question for chief, we can put Rebecca on it if a question to ask, yeah?
Right.
Or we can ask him.
I mean, people's time is going to be spread really thin, especially when everything opens up full bore,
Right.
I think.
Yeah.
So, that's me personally.
There's
You guys
direction
can
from
speak
one.
for-
Anybody else? What do we got?
I like going quarterly. I think the timing of this was great because we can go over all this stuff. It's not, at the end of or in July when we're going to go over budget and all those
Right.
things. So I thought the timing of this was good. I think if we went quarterly, that makes sense. But I do like to know what's going on, and I would like to know it from all departments, whereas
Okay.
I think sometimes in Consolidated, it wasn't entirely everyone.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
I would love the budget, especially just like where we are against the budget, where we are comparative to
Yep.
bi-monthly. I'd like to see that every month, honestly. I just feel like I've been in the dark since I came on in August. about where we are financially in any department. So I liked this, but I'd like to see it more often.
Agree.
So quarterly then? Quarterly and,
I suppose to go to, off of what you just said, that makes sense as well, but to not maybe expect people to be here unless it's a quarterly thing, like then we know that quarterly, that's when they'll be here and if we have questions. Because to go off of what Gretel's saying about people's time and,
Yeah.
I think it is unrealistic to expect everyone to be here every,
oh,
you know.
100%,
Yeah.
twice, no, but,
And what I would say is, kind of tying it back to budget and the intent of the budget,
Right.
is if I'm seeing particular issues within the budget, I'll be having those conversations with those respective departments.
Right.
And if it's something that I feel that the council probably needs to be aware of, because there's going to be a budget impact, we're going to have to do some sort of amendment, then I would want that respective department head to be here to speak to that, if it's material enough. I also think it's really going to be important, probably with all the projects that are going on specifically, to have Rebecca here.
Yeah.
Because those are where most of the questions come from the public, where they're not necessarily
Asking about the museum.
asking about the museum
Yeah,
or
yeah.
Public Works, or that's just the fact. So I think making sure that we're keeping on top of where the projects are at with regards to progress and funding is, I think, is important for the council and the public. So that would be the one that I would say probably, sorry, is always going to have to be here. Yeah.
She's crying.
so we're quarterly with department heads here.
I'd still like to see the financials more
Right,
frequently.
financials.
Yeah.
So like a more elaborate,
Yeah.
consolidated report, I think.
Pretty much.
And so
Because
what
it was
I,
kinda
yeah,
lacking.
so what I think is going to happen is, for right now, I think doing a monthly budget analysis will be good. I think once you're kind of comfortable with it, you're not going to want
Yeah.
to see it,
I just-
because,
right.
and then we'll move on probably to more
Yeah.
of a quarterly look over.
I think just because we haven't known where we
Yeah.
are for so long, and once
Yeah.
you get it all cleaned up, I think it'll be great to see.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Okay.
Direction good enough?
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
perfect, thank you.
Check off that. Okay, so next we're moving on to item B, public hearing, second reading, hold public hearing of ordinance 517 to update and revise Angels Municipal Code, Chapter 17.31, Commercial Plan Development, combining district CPD and CHPD, Public Services Plan Development, combining PSPD District, Chapter 17.40, Open Space Plan Development, combining district OSPD, and Open Spaces Golf Plan Development, combining OSG PD District 2. Amy Augustine, Planning Director, you are up.
There she is.
Mr. Mayor, council members, as happened at the last meeting, I'm going to combine my presentation for ordinances 517, 518, and 519 because they are all interrelated, even though we will take them separately, and we can go ahead and take questions separately. For anybody who wasn't here at the last meeting, what we're doing is we're getting rid of some zoning districts that were never used, that had been proposed in the original development agreements 30 years ago for Greenhorn Creek, and they just never used them. Or there were a couple that they used, but were never defined. We are also borrowing one of the zoning districts from Greenhorn Creek, the open space zoning district, so that we could use it citywide if the applicant or somebody wanted to, and with their permission. As we explained before, Tractor Supply, they had one option, and that was to go out and survey in a protection zone around an oak tree, when in fact we could have just zoned it open space and not made them go out and do a deed. So we are also borrowing from Greenhorn Creek a public zone that they never used, and we're combining it with our public zone so that there's one public zone that also includes quasi-public uses over which we have zero jurisdiction, special districts. We don't have any jurisdiction over them. We wanted to make that clear on our zoning maps, the parcels in the city where we have no jurisdiction. These are being done to implement several programs in our general plan. I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Staff or council have any questions right now at the moment for Amy? Okay. Seeing none, hearing none, I will now open the public comment on 517, item B. Okay. Anybody? All right, I will close the public hearing, and I would look for a motion to approve ordinance 517.
I'll make the motion to approve. I'll second.
Okay, first, second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed, same sign? 5-0 on that one. Okay. Amy Augustine, you're up again on C, which you already kind of gave us the brief overview of it. So at this moment, I will open up 518 for staff or council to ask any questions of. Anybody have any questions for Amy at the moment? Okay, seeing none, hearing none, I will open up public hearing now at this moment. If anybody who has any questions, come on up.
I think on the item for a public district and quasi-public, so could there be an explanation in regards to what a quasi-public is?
Other than next item, we'll get to.
Oh, aren't we on that one?
We're on C.
Oh, I'm sorry.
See, D is,
We'll wait.
okay, I'll see you up in one more ordinance. Okay. Is there any other public that would like to come up during the hearing? Okay, seeing none, hearing none, I will close the public hearing and ask for a motion to approve ordinance 518.
I'll make that motion for you.
I will second, oh,
Go ahead.
Gretel, you got it.
Second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed, same sign. Motion passes, or ordinance 5-0. Now we move on to item D, which is 519 ordinance.
Mr. Mayor, council members, quasi and, public and quasi-public. Quasi-public is primarily for special districts like school districts. The city has no jurisdiction over school districts. They do their own environmental reviews. They make their own decisions regarding what to do with their property. What we have currently on our map are things like school districts that have parcels zoned R2. And when we've been doing our housing element, people think, wow, you've got all this housing available, when in fact we don't. It's just miszoned properties. So we wanted to do two things: get rid of those things that really aren't housing, make it clear that they're public facilities, if you will, even if they're not owned by the city, and make it clear to the public those things that we simply, as the city, do not have jurisdiction over. And I'd be happy to answer any other questions you might have.
Okay. So on item D, 219, is there any staff or council that has any questions for Amy? Okay, now I'll open up the public hearing for item D, 219. Debbie, come on up.
So, thank you for that definition. So the question I have then leads into, how is a cemetery district overlay into that particular zone if a cemetery is needing to do some level of expansion in a residential area?
Yeah.
Is the cemetery a special district?
Yes.
So when you move into something that is currently residential, we would need to go through a zoning process to make you public. And at that time, you could then expand into that area. So basically, we would zone you accordingly, and then you would become your own lead agency and do what you needed to do. You would also have to be going through LAFCO, of course. So there would be all that involved.
Okay. Any other public comment? Hearing none, seeing none, I will close public comment, or public hearing, and I would ask for a motion to approve ordinance 519.
I will motion 519. I'll second.
First and the second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed, same sign. 5-0 on that one. Now we move to item E, public hearing second reading, hold public hearing for ordinance 520 to update and receive Angels Municipal Code AMC, Chapter 17.49, Mining Combining District MN to become the Resource Management Combining District RM for general plan consistency. Amy, you're back up.
Mr. Mayor, council members, again, this is really more clerical than anything, and to make it clear that we are not anticipating having
Mining.
large-scale mining operations in the city of Angels. We may conceivably have somebody who wants to do something with natural resources. The state requires you to have the designation, otherwise we'd have simply gotten rid of the whole thing. But because we're required by state law, we wanted to do this clerical change to make it really clear that in fact, we're not encouraging large mining operations in downtown. That's all I have.
Staff question, council questions to Amy? Okay, we will open up the public hearing. Is there any member of the public that would like to discuss anything? Hearing none, seeing none, I will close the public hearing and look for a motion to approve ordinance 520.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
First and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed, same sign? 5-1. Okay, item F, discussion and direction on building inspection services. Rebecca Callen, City Administrator.
Thank you. So we have been contracting with Interwest since 2018. So prior to that, we had a full-time city building inspector who retired. So the decision was made to actually contract out. Contracting for these types of services is really not that uncommon, because if you don't have a lot of development going on and a lot of inspections that need to happen, you can certainly kind of get a kind of a la carte contract for a variation of services that you would need. But what becomes problematic is when you have a lot of development and a lot of inspection services that need to happen, you may not have enough hours from that contractor to do the work. So what occurred is the Interwest contract was expiring in March, which is right around the corner. It looked like in November of 2021, the council had directed staff to issue a new RFP for consideration, which didn't happen. And then there had also been some interest in, well, what would it look like to bring staffing back into the city with regards to allowing us to do kind of a broader control over the building inspection and plan review process. So number one, no matter what, we can't not have building inspection services, and the contract was about to expire. So I did reach out to Interwest. They are willing to extend the contract for the rest of this fiscal year. So we would ask that council approve that extension. And so we can move forward on that. And then the second piece of this is what you would like to have us do. We can certainly issue RFP, which is a request for proposals, going back out to continue with the model of doing contracted services for building inspection, which includes building inspection, CASP, which is for accessibility. It has plan review in there. The inspection and plan review is for the consultant is kind of beneficial, especially if we had very complicated development or very complicated building that was going on, that we might not be able to have someone locally be able to do that. But if we did in-house, we would have a lot more hours to benefit the constituents here. And if that's the case, we would be looking at a part-time option, which would be non-benefited. And we would have to keep the hours to 960 hours or less, for us not to have to deal with benefits and retirement and all of that. We kind of did look at the hourly rate, salary of what that might be, and all that information is in here. I had talked to Amy, and she thinks even if we increased the amount of activity, that our existing staff would be able to act as that kind of permit technician body. So she doesn't think we'd actually augment staffing for a permit technician, which means we could potentially do a little bit more on the building inspection side. No matter what, I think we're still going to have to consider contracting for certain things, just because that's just how it's going to be, because there's just going to be complications or more complicated inspections or plan review that's going to happen, that we just, no matter what, are not going to have that expertise here. And the other thing is we don't have any spare vehicles, so we would also have to buy a vehicle for the inspector. So that's also an additional cost that we would have to consider. I'm not really sure, we didn't get into what we'd be looking at for that, but that is an additional cost, plus just general equipment, computer, laptop, stuff like that. So, and it's doing the recruitment and if anyone is going to apply to it. So it does give us a little bit of time doing the extension with Interwest through the end of this fiscal year, but no matter what, that's really not a ton of time. So we have to get moving on either going through that recruitment, putting a really vetted job description together for a part-time, putting the recruitment together, getting it out, doing interviews, or moving forward on a full-fledged RFP and getting that out there. But we just need to make a decision which route we're going to go, and then we will spend the time and resources on whichever direction you want us to go. And there's pros and cons for either way.
Did we not have a vehicle before for him?
I would guess, and I'm just hypothesizing here, that it got absorbed into whatever department, or it could have been a hoopty and then it got surplus. I don't know.
I think Steve Flagg had the little Dakota that Public Works had. If I remember, that's what I remember seeing him in, as a little Dakota, and I think Public Works got that, and now I don't know where that, yeah.
I see it, I think I see it.
It's on the road every now and then. I
Yeah.
think,
Do we have any surplus, like anywhere that we're getting rid of fire or anything? I thought we had some on the list.
We did, and we have already completed those.
We got rid of them.
Let's hope that.
Okay, well, thank you. I'll open it up for council. What questions do we have? What do we got?
In your conversation, Rebecca, with Interwest, was there other staffing available for inspection services or permit tech services within that current contract?
Right, so in talking to Amy, it doesn't sound like we're really utilizing the permit technician pieces within that respective contract, so it really has more to do with inspection services. At this time, I need to have a more thorough conversation with him, because we just needed to get, them just to agree if we're willing, if they're willing to extend or not. So that would be the other piece, and I think regardless, we need to have that conversation, whether we need additional staff because we need, quicker turnaround, or, whatever it is. So I will be having that conversation with him. And then regardless, we still would need to do an RFP if we're going to go that direction. So we would need to, and it may not be Interwest who responds, or they may not be the chosen award, but yeah, so I think at this point, it's just a matter of what does the council want to do in terms of bringing back an in-house model and trying that again, or stick with that contracting. The thing to also just consider is, building ebbs and flows. And so, we're kind of on a good growth trajectory right now, but the moment it starts coming down, then we have to cut staff because there's not work. It's a lot easier to eliminate a contract than it is to eliminate staffing. So those are just things you have to just consider. And then the vehicle thing was kind of a killer. I was hoping she would tell me there was a truck sitting there. And there
Maybe
wasn't.
a backhoe or a tractor they can
Is
drive.
there not a way that you can coerce them to use their own vehicle?
If they get in an accident or something.
Liability.
It's the liability. Yeah.
I have a question. So do I need, or could I break this into two parts? Because you need to know, first off, if we're going to, we're asked for this extension, correct?
Yes.
So can I break that into its own part first and go with that?
Yep.
Okay.
That's a
So-
no-brainer.
So for me, I'm going to break this out, and I'm going to say, I'm going to make a motion to extend till the end of the fiscal year, to the end of June there. So I
I'll
will make a
second.
motion. Jen, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Does that work on that one?
Yeah.
Okay. So that scratches that question off of there.
Can I ask about the health of Interwest? Like, are they having a lot of inspectors leaving, or have they had high turnover? Because I know in this job market, those are some of the places that people are moving around a lot.
Right. I think we've had our existing inspector,
He's our third one.
is he your third one? In where?
He's our third one from Interwest.
Okay.
Actually, Tom hasn't.
Like a year.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's kind of, whether it's a contractor or whether we, did a temporary position, just people aren't staying
Right.
put very
But the
long
nice thing about a
anymore.
contract, is, I guess a contract with them is if they don't have a Tom, they can send a John.
Someone else, yep.
Right. They can send someone who's qualified to come in. And I'm just looking, in the future with some of these large developments that we're going to be welcoming to the city, and just having that, the correct type of abilities and education and background to be able to move those forward. I think that's kind of key as well. So the à la carte menu type thing.
So you else got questions, or am I going to?
I was just going to say, so I was someone who initially wanted to bring this back in to be more of a part-time person, and my reasoning for that was based off of, obviously Interwest is from Sacramento, so I don't feel like they have the, what's the word that I'm looking for? They're not in our community, they don't,
They don't
whatever.
know the
they don't sign off
inner
on-
workings of our
Right,
community.
and something more local would help and benefit our contractors who, they need those inspections to keep the job going. Knowing what you've presented this evening, I want to think about it a little bit more.
Yeah, me too.
So that's where I stand.
Is there a way for us to use Interwest for, like, say, a particular building official, and we just à la carte him, even if we have our own inspector that can, go look at a foundation locally? If we get a big development,
Right.
then we can call them and say, hey, we need a higher up, can we use that? So is that something that we could kind of mix?
Yes.
Okay.
And so that's why I say, I think no matter what, it's going to be a hybrid.
Yep.
It just depends on which pieces, right? So, and I did have that conversation with him specifically, just to kind of gauge, is that even something that he would, that they would be of interest to? Do they want the whole ball of wax, or are they willing to, for us just to kind of utilize these various pieces? And it sounds like they're open to work with us on whatever platform we want. But I think, that's just going to depend on what you guys want to see. My concern is, we could certainly bring in a part-time building inspector, someone from a contractor background who's licensed and all of that, but you still need that building official oversight. You still need CASP certification. No contractor, anyone not in government is not going to be CASP certified. They're just not going to be. And that So no matter what, we would always have to look at that. And then when you start looking at that building official level, that is just, that's why I used kind of a higher hourly rate here, because that's more on the building official level. So if we wanted more of a inspector that would then kind of get stamped off on a contracted building official, then we could potentially look at a lower rate of pay.
Okay, so I got a question for 1 second. How long, like if we put out this RFP, is a 2-year contract kind of a norm? Is a 5-year contract? What is kind of a norm, just out of the question? It's whatever we make it.
I think the original contract was 3.
Okay.
I believe. I think the original one was 3.
Okay.
But I've
could
seen
write it for 2.
I've seen them 1, I've seen them 2, I've seen them 5.
Okay.
Sometimes, well, not sometimes, most of the time, the responding vendor will be more amenable to their rates, obviously, if it's a longer term.
Right.
But, yeah.
When do you need to know about the RFP? What does the timeline for that look like?
I would say if we could just make a decision by March, then that gives us time to pull something together and start getting it advertised so that we would have responses back, so then we can go through the review process and then get everything awarded, picked and awarded by the end of the fiscal year, so that it's starting in July.
Do you think that this amount that we've been contracting is going to go up? Do you anticipate that since everything else has gone up?
I would think it would.
Okay.
But I would also say, and I can work with Amy on this as well, is within the existing contract, it says that we won't exceed, I think it's $80,000 per year unless the council approves it. And I would say with the amount of development and building that's happening, I don't think we're really going to have a choice. So either we're not going to do inspections beyond that $80,000 capacity, or we are, but that means that contract is going to have to go up.
Because I'm thinking about Habitat for Humanity, I'm thinking about Frog Jump Plaza, there's a lot on the docket.
Yeah.
And so we're going to have a busy time period with a whole lot of activity going on in this community.
We are, and something else, at least that's going through my brain, is like currently with Interwest, they're charging us travel time, right?
Yes.
So that's also
Right.
just something to
Right,
keep
to
in
keep in
mind.
mind.
I think I was hoping that if we went the part-time route, that we could, with maybe there being a retired person out there who has done this, who's bored and wants to get back out there. As far as positions go, a part-time extra hire, can those sort of, you hire them but without any type of long-term commitment? I don't know how those job descriptions work. I've just read that, part-time extra hire, which kind of when the grant runs out, the job runs out.
So that would be what you would want to do. So there's really 2 ways of going about it. You could either do a limited time
Employment.
permanent position, or you could do an extra hire / part-time position.
I'm just thinking.
Either one of those would work. I think from a budgetary standpoint, we would want to keep it under that full-time marker, because the moment we surpass that, now we're into benefits, all benefits.
Right.
So that would be the one kind of caveat there. I think right now, and I had it on a table, we get roughly, depending on kind of what we're utilizing off that Interwest contract, we're getting anywhere between 600 and 800 hours, where we would get 960 hours for a building official. So, it might be worthwhile to, have that conversation with Interwest, just to kind of get a feel for if they would be open to the concept of having the building official that can basically stamp off what a building inspector could do at the city, with them having a building inspector like backup. Because if we get enough development, it's even gonna surpass what a part-time building inspector can do if we hire it. But maybe that can be kind of a catch-all on the
Overflow,
Interwest
like,
project.
yeah.
But don't we, if we have a big project like Tractor Supply, for instance, don't they have, there's an allotted amount that is in their fees that cover additional hours for the inspector, correct?
It depends. So how the current building fees are they already set? Because generally there'll be the initial fees.
The initial fees for the building, we have that for engineer. We can get additional monies for them. We can do an arrangement on a commercial project, because we did that with Tractor Supply. We actually did that all in-house. And they paid a different set of fees, so we
Yeah,
must
so I mean, like, if somebody
negotiate.
comes in with a $10 million project, we can't expect our $80,000 budget to cover that. So we need to attach that to
The project.
the project.
Yeah, we would
Okay.
always have to make sure,
So then,
yeah.
in a situation like that, then yes, we would go above our $80,000, but we would have reason to do so.
Yeah.
And that works with commercial.
Commercial.
Which
So-
really are more of the big
So it wouldn't
projects.
work with Habitat, Amy?
No.
With all of the development?
We charge for a single-family residence, and those are
Onesie,
set.
onesie, onesie,
Those are set.
onesie.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of the rub
The caveat,
is,
yeah.
so our fee structure, the cost recovery would work on all of the commercial. It's on the residential that the fee structure doesn't necessarily net itself out, no. So.
I see it being a hybrid of it all. I see it as being, yeah, we're plugging the hole for right now, getting Interwest extended, having conversations with them, seeing what's available, likely going to go out for an RFP. It might be with Interwest again, or it might be somebody else, and then maybe it's conversation, it's worth looking into, seeing if there's any part-time retired inspectors. I agree with what Isabel said, and that was something that we said long ago. There's got to be a connection to the community, and I think that's what's been missing for a little while. If we could have someone that's invested in the community, knows the codes, I don't know about the vehicle, I don't know what we would do there. We would have to have another conversation there. If we can't pay them by the mile, or if there's a liability exclusion that couldn't be had, Deb, for someone to drive their own vehicle. For a part-time situation, we couldn't pay them by the mile to drive their own truck.
Well, yeah, legally you can, just with regard to the compensation.
Sure.
You know, wages and your employer's obligation to reimburse employees for all expenditures.
What about liability?
Liability is a different thing.
Okay.
So-
Well, I think that it's worth massaging and looking into. I think it's going to be a mix match of all of the above. I think we're all kind of saying the same thing.
Well, and I
So-
think too, when you have someone who's a little bit more permanent as opposed to, Joe, Bob, Jim,
Every year,
whatever,
new
every year.
guy.
The other thing, because I know, what was it, John Pargett. He did really well. He was here for super long. People respected him. They knew, hey, he just told me that I can't do this on this job, so you better fix that before he gets. So I think that helps with the consistency, especially with it being someone who's here. But
Right.
So that's where I'm coming from.
Maybe we have
But I
one or
think we definitely
two
need
or
to think
three on
about
the
it.
books. Maybe they're
Well-
part-time, maybe we find inspectors that can work for the spring but not the summer because they travel, and they can work for the fall but not the winter. Maybe we have so many apply, I don't know, it's all worth what we find. We won't know until we fly these
There could be
things.
no one that's
Right.
interested.
And
The county
Yeah.
is struggling. I will say that the county has been trying to hire their planning director. This is not a planning director, but they've struggled, and there's been a lot of turnover at the inspection level at the county. So, there's that.
Yeah.
But I definitely think we have to extend the Interwest to offer the cushion for us.
And I think,
so for-
yeah,
Let's extend it one more time.
let's extend it one more time. And I think that just the thing to be mindful is we make it no one, and
Right.
mainly
Right.
because it's fairly lucrative to do construction right now. So, do you want to get paid, X dollars an hour like inspecting stuff, or do you want to go out and come out of retirement and, you know, build something? So we're kind of competing also for the same people that are kind of going back out and building. So it's just something to be aware of.
For me, I think we issue an RFP for an actual Inner West, there's a Clover, I can't remember, at this, and do it for a 2-year term. It's not the end of the world, but to try and, consistency is a beautiful thing too. You just talked about somebody for the spring and fall and winter time, now you have inconsistency again, when I inspected, then you inspected, or.
Well, I'm thinking of our staff working with that person.
Right,
people
the part-time person has to have all these certifications, you know, and it's not just a general builder's contract, you know, it's not just a general builder, you have to have certifications. It's not a retired, I'll use my dad, it's not an electrician that comes and steps in this, you have to have certifications. And ADA stuff, commercial buildings, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you can get through an Inner West or a company that has it. Not to say I don't want somebody that is local, has ties with the community, that's not what I'm after. I'm just after some stability for the next couple of years as everybody gets back on board and moving along. I personally feel that is, that hiring somebody, and not to say we can't look for a part-time person, but for right now, I think we issue the RFP for like a 2-year contract, is where I would go. So
Can we start that process with an RFP and just see what we get? And then make a decision what direction we want to go in still?
Oh, absolutely. You can issue an
Okay.
RFP and look at it and be like, oh, never mind, I don't want to award anything. Like,
Okay.
we're not obligated to.
I think that's a good way to go. just
Well,
to
we
get
can
an
fly a
estimate.
part-time position and see
then
what
fly a
applicants come
part-time
in. We almost
position
should
and see
throw
what
cast
we
out the
get.
big net.
Yeah, I'd like to see that happen, just so that we know what our options are.
There might be a unicorn
And
out
is
there.
there not a local company that we can use, that we have to use somebody out of West Sacramento?
We
I
have
mean,
to
if we
do an
contract-
RFP.
Well, that's the
Right,
RFP.
but I'm
That's
saying, I mean,
right.
if we put it out there and, you know, somebody from Sonora or somebody from, you know, I don't know, Rockford. We don't have to use somebody that travels 2 hours both ways.
No, it's just, they have to have responded to that request for
Right.
proposal. So if they don't respond, then they don't
can't use
respond.
So, and June is right around the corner, I mean,
Yep.
in a heartbeat, so.
Yep.
So is there any other staff questions, council questions? Okay, I'll open it up to public comment then, we can bring it back to staff if we want to do that too. Jeff, go.
Jeff wants a job.
You're hired.
My question is, everybody keeps talking about, it's a part-time position. Well, with contractors that we have in our area, they desperately need a inspector, because you can't, sometimes you just can't wait for 2 or 3 days. I mean, there's something that's happening right now, and it needs to be taken care of. Or they just pull the guys off the job, and you gotta sit there. So my question is, why can't the City of Angels create a full-time job, and I've said this for a long time, not only as a building inspector, because we've got several guys getting ready to retire that are contractors, been around for a long time, you don't know. Clay Dillashaw just retired. Ron Selleck, he wants to retire. I mean, we got a lot of people. But incorporate that job with a code enforcement officer, which we don't have in this city. And we desperately need that. So until, it's like Isabel said, and Carolyn, we got Habitat for Humanity, we've got some other things that's coming up, that the city's gonna get busier. Well, in the meantime, you could have a full-time position, you can get a truck if you need a truck, doesn't have to be a brand new one, and you can create that where it would entice somebody to come and be inspector, code enforcement officer. Then as things got busier, then maybe the city might have to think about, okay, well, this has got to be 2 separate things. But I seriously think, not as a general contractor, but as a contractor, that this city really needs a local building inspector that is around, and you can make a phone call to City Hall and say, hey, I got this that came up, I need an inspection, you know, can I get one? And it would solve a lot of problems, and it would save a lot of money for contractors to be able to do that. So anyway, that's just what I had to say.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Any other public?
Call it a day. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Have a good one.
These are for all of you to take home, give to your friends and neighbors, and whoever else wants them.
Thank
Perfect.
you.
Thank you, Jim.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Okay.
And that's the flip side of it, is
Right.
to look at a full-time. It just, unfortunately, the benefits boost that cost way up. So that's just something to be aware of. Obviously, we can recoup, it's the whole purpose of permitting fees is to recoup costs, and you can on the commercial. Residential never seems to pencil out. That's county, city, doesn't really matter. That's just kind of how it lands. But I still think regardless, I don't think we're gonna get away from that contract. It just maybe on a smaller scale than a full-fledged one, but you're still always gonna have that piece that you're gonna have to work with.
Any other public comment at the moment?
So speaking a little bit from personal experience and then professional, so on behalf of DAC, I think this is the right discussion and direction given to staff to look at the RFP. There are projects in the hopper, but I can also tell you the current environment on the financial side and the state of the economy is really starting to scare people about whether or not they're going to pursue larger developments. Thankfully and hopefully with Habitat, that's something that will go forward because that's more of grant-type funding and the workforce is coming from the homeowners. But there's not a lot of residential building that's going to be happening anytime soon with the current arrangement in the financial market. That's going to deter people from building. I think also on the commercial side, there's a lot of people that are just sitting on the fence, waiting for the direction of the city. Where are you going to go in the next 5 to 10 years? Where do you want development happening? So I think there's just a lot of unknowns. So I think for staff right now, the direction, certainly through the end of the year, was a good move. But looking at that option of the RFP and massaging a little bit about what this in-house person or department looks like, because it's very costly. And that's why in 2017-18, that decision was made. When you look at the numbers here, you have total permits issued at 118. And you have site visits of 523, that number's kind of interesting to me. That's a lot of inspections for just 118 permits. And what are those permits? Because I don't see any new home construction going on. You're replacing a deck, you're replacing a roof. You don't have a lot of big money coming in regards to that. So I think there's just a lot of fleshing out that needs to do. And I think that, this is a good time to engage the general contracting community about what that need is. I mentioned this several years ago when Interwest came on because it is new. I too would love local. I work with John Perget. Not everything John did was local. John couldn't handle Foothill Village. There were others that were brought in to handle that. When you look at fire, when you start looking at grading and all sorts of other things. So I think it's a balance of a little bit of everything. And but I think you're on the right track with giving Rebecca and herself the opportunity to pursue those things and really massage this, because I personally don't think there's a part-time person who would take this kind of job. There's a lot of responsibility and there's a lot of liability to it. And we go downtown, you look at the liability of what's happening downtown, from lack of inspections and code enforcement and all those kinds of things. It's a huge liability, I think, for a part-time person to come on. So I appreciate the opportunity to participate in this. I think there's a good opportunity to do some focus groups with your contracting community. I don't think most understand what that means. They get pissy because, somebody said, you didn't put a nail there, you didn't do this, or overlook that. Mistakes happen, but when you look at the majority of what's been issued here, I really have a concern about going full-time and spending a lot of money on what you're seeing here, because I don't see this number getting bigger. I don't see it getting bigger. maybe I'm wrong, but I have a husband who's at home who studies the financial market, studies everything under the sun, and it's pretty scary out there what this economy is doing and the rate of inflation. Money's not going to be cheap anymore. So my 2 cents.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nick. Any other public comment at the moment? Okay, I'll bring it back to staff, council. Any other questions at the moment? Okay. My only last thing is, full-time for me, is kind of scary, just because we have a lot of unfunded liability out there now as is. And that's not this year, next year, that's for a long time. So I do think somebody to fill in maybe a part-time or a local is great, and we got to figure that out. But I will make a motion to request for an RFP for 2 years, and that'll get us by for a couple years so we can figure this all out. So I make a motion to request for an RFP out for 2 years.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed, same sign?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, fails 3-0.
I will make a motion.
3-2. Hold on one sec, let me write it down.
2-3.
2-3. Okay.
So I will make a
Any other
motion to explore the option of an RFP as well as recruitment for local inspector, part-time, and see what we get. See if we get interest in the RFP. So I'm sorry, I guess that verbiage would be to fly the RFP and see what we can get from consultants as well as fly job openings to see what we get. And then we'll have this conversation, we'll have a full table set to see what we have.
And I'll second that.
Okay, so let me ask for 1 second of clarification. So you're saying we're going to
Do both.
do a 2-year RFP
Yep.
with somebody, and then
No,
we're just giving
Just
direction?
to see what the RFP, see what it attracts. See how many proposals we get. We don't have to award any of them.
Okay.
But see how much interest we have with RFPs and what that looks like for the big picture, as well as see what we can get here locally. And then that's going to present itself. There we're going to have a
Basically
whole
running the two simultaneously.
simultaneous, yeah.
Applying the position and requesting proposals.
Okay, so requesting proposal for 2 years, and
Flying the part-time
the part-time position flying at the same time?
Correct.
Okay. And you were a first, and who was a second? Isabel was a second.
I have a question.
Public comment, go ahead, because if we have a new motion, I think we can do that now.
So we keep saying local, what does that mean?
It's probably a poor choice of words. An employment opportunity, a part-time employment
Part-time,
opportunity.
so they
We've been
can
saying,
live
yeah, there does
anywhere
not have to be
in the
any.
Local, but it can be, yeah.
They can live anywhere, though.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we can't
Poor choice of
discriminate
words. Thank you,
that.
Debbie.
Okay.
If you could strike or modify my motion, not a local person, doesn't have to be local, but a part-time code or not code enforcement, but inspector opportunity.
Okay.
Got it.
So first.
You still a second with my change of, yeah,
Yes.
sorry.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign? Aye. Okay, so 4-1. Okay. And.
Oh, me, sorry. So, who's that?
Sorry, I hadn't caught up yet.
So just letting the council know and the public know that due to water line replacement that's going to occur tomorrow, very early in the morning, there is a boil water notice on parts of Murphy's Grade Road, specifically between Bret Harte High School and Highway 49. Staff have already given out the boil water notices to everyone who's going to be impacted there. Bret Harte specifically it's going to be impacted on the lower portion, not on the upper portion. His hope is to start the work at 5 a.m. and have it done as early as possible so that they can get their samples out for testing to get the results back so that they can lift the boil water notice. So hopefully it's a shortened period of time, but it could be between 2 and 3 days. So we'll just continue to keep posted. And then the state requirement is the boil water notice goes out, and then when it's lifted, then it goes back out again to let everybody know that they can drink the water again.
Does that affect the high school side?
It affects a portion of the high school.
Okay.
So the high school lower portion, that
Oh,
would
right,
be,
okay.
yes. And then
Now,
that-
now it's coming back.
Yes. Remember, you walk up the stairs, you go to the, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So just letting everyone know about that. And I've had a good first week, so that was exciting. Staff are helping me go through everything and find where everything is, and so it's a good group of people. I'm excited to be on board. I will be working with Rose to get some agenda items for the first meeting in March for some things that I think will be exciting for the city. And that's about it. Amy did take me on a wonderful tour this morning. So it's always kind of fun to work in positions like this because you get to see stuff that you wouldn't normally see. As the auditor controller, I got to always go and count all the gold nuggets that we had with the treasurer. So you always get to see just kind of fun things that no one else has to say. So thank you, Amy. That was a really great tour. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Okay, number 11, council reports. I will start with Gretel.
Thursday night downtown, we're staying open. It's the third Thursday, so shops will be open till 8 o'clock. And I think that's it. Going to AFPA tomorrow.
In the last 2 weeks, I attended the ACFA ribbon cutting for Raven's Basket, new business downtown historic Angels Camp. So it was well attended and great little business. If you haven't checked it out yet, you should do so. And that's been it. Friends Affair tomorrow, ACFA mixture Thursday coming up. Bank of Stockton, right?
Yeah, they're doing the same, they're doing it on the same night.
They are, I just realized that. Why is that?
I know,
Oh, well.
I don't know.
Well,
It's a chamber function.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chamber.
oh, it's a chamber, it's not an
Yeah.
ACFA function?
No.
My bad. Well, then, and that's it, Ellen.
Okay, so I attended COG, and there wasn't a too big of an update. I think you can go into that if you'd like, but as far as for the transit system, there is an app, and I believe it's called, was it Smart Ride?
Smart Ride is what I
Yeah,
remember.
so you can download that, you can actually schedule your rides, you can get your tickets. So I think that's pretty exciting for our small community to be up with technology. Unfortunately, Amber Collins is going to be leaving us, so that's some sad news. And then on Saturday, I attended the grand opening with Jen for Raven's Basket. It's always nice to see new businesses in town. So, yeah, and the weather was beautiful. A little too beautiful, scares me a little bit. Anyhow, that's all.
I attended the Angels Camp Museum Foundation meeting last week, and they are looking for new members to join the foundation. So if anyone's interested in becoming a board member with the foundation, and they're also going to be reaching out to key community members to fill or to create an advisory board as well to help them. The focus of the foundation really is to raise money to support some of the activities that are going on there. They have as you read in the DAC report, they've got featured speakers on various different things about Angels Camp. And if you don't get that, you can give me your email and I'll get you on the email list for that. I think, Debbie, you probably forward their newsletter as well. And then they've got a $25,000 challenge going on right now where they're raising money to finish the pole barn. So they're busy, but they need help. And so they need to create some more committees to be able to do some of the heavy lifting, actual heavy lifting at the museum, things like that, so that if people are interested in either being a board member or a committee member, they're definitely going to do some outreach on that. So.
Okay. I only had COG and CTA. At COG, Gary Tofinelli is no longer chair. Amanda Fallendorf is. I am vice chair. Amanda Collins is leaving.
Amber.
Or Amber.
I know, I was like, who's
Yeah,
that?
never mind. Yeah, that was bad. Yeah, that was, and the app is pretty.
That's great.
The app
That's
is pretty
exciting.
amazing.
Yeah.
You can book it, you can watch, I mean, it's like the Uber app. You can watch the bus
Oh, yeah.
come to your house. I mean, it'll tell you ETA 5 minutes.
That's great.
It's pretty impressive.
Is there a time limit on when you can do that at night, or does it stop running at 6 or 7, or do we know?
You know, I don't know the bus
Okay.
schedule off the top of my head, but you can catch, and I know Columbia, to catch a ride to Columbia is free for all college students. You just have to show your pass.
You can also get a free ride to get vaccinated.
Right, free ride to get vaccinated. They'll take you to go get groceries. They'll pick you up, if you're within 3/4 of a mile of a bus stop, they will pick you up. So it actually goes outside, you don't even have to get to the bus stop. So it is a pretty impressive program, and it's pretty.
I feel like it's undervalued
I think so,
and
too.
undermarketed too.
Yeah.
I'm also used to driving.
Yeah, I know a couple of years ago also that was really big was the concerts in Ironstone. They were they bust a lot of people around, and
Fair time, yeah.
Fair time, and they also take people up to ski sometimes.
And to Bear
too,
Valley
and to
Music
Bear Valley,
Festival.
and music
Mhm.
festival. So
Yeah.
it is a pretty neat thing, and I wish people utilize it more. I probably should utilize it more, but anyway. So that's all I have. We have COG again tomorrow night. We have UWPA on next Tuesday. There's all sorts of fun stuff going on. Debbie, you're up next.
Can it be public comment for council reports?
Yeah, sure, go. I will open it up right now, and then I'll, yeah.
So what's the status of the Wagon Trail? Is there an
Status-
update there?
Yep. They knocked down trees all last month, for the most part. They're going to, I think, fence this coming week, if I remember right. They're starting to do fencing
Yeah,
because they wanted to get the trees down before owls could nest, is what we were kind of told.
And then there's a groundbreaking, is it March 2nd or March 3rd?
I don't know if they
10 in the
decided on a
morning.
date.
Yeah, we got the invitation.
Yeah,
I think it's March
March
2nd.
2nd.
I think it's Wednesday, March 2nd. I want to say 10 a.m. at,
Yeah.
what is that? It's the vineyards, Jordan Vineyards?
It
Right
starts
there?
with a J.
Jordan.
Yeah,
Is it
Jordan
Jordan?
Vineyards,
Yeah.
right there. I believe it's at 10 a.m., but
10
you can
a.m.
double check
Yes.
that.
And then as you're at, well, I wasn't gonna open my mouth, but I will on this one, because it is kind of neat if it happens, Deb. Gary Tofinelli and Amanda have been in contact with some pretty higher ups in the Department of Transportation kind of stuff. They're gonna go after some funding that we're kind of maybe, I'm not gonna say guaranteed, but the county is what they're gonna try and maybe push to fund it on the front end, and then they would pay it back on the backside when we got the money. So to complete that final phase, because there isn't the funding for the final phase yet. So that would be very interesting to finish that job out. So that's where we're at on the Wagon Trail. Did that give you enough of a, so building fence and everything, and?
That's a good start. So,
Okay.
I have to tell you, when I sit at these meetings, and I know you attend meetings, and sometimes to you it becomes just ordinary. But Wagon Trail is a pretty forefront project. And the other one I hear about is wayfinding. So I understand that COG received a grant to do some wayfinding signage for the communities. Is that something that's in the COG hopper?
I don't
You know.
remember that one off the top of
I
my
remember
head.
hearing that, but I don't know, yeah. Oh!
Was that wasn't?
Amy knows.
There was
Yeah.
wayfinding a while back. Maybe, I don't know of any new, Deb, that just came out.
The contract goes to Calaveras County, who will administer it, but yes, they did get funding for wayfinding signs.
Oh, they did, okay.
Nice.
I have to say
Then I missed that one, I didn't catch that one at all.
So that's a huge deal for Angels Camp, because it was in the early 2000s, or 2010, 11, 12, where I think Gary served on that committee, and I know Amy was involved at some point, but, it was a lot of community input into what the sign should look like of Angels Camp, wherever to get grants for signage. And so it deals with the entrance signs into town, so huge rock walls. There's already plans on what that signage looks like, signage for parking, signage of entrance coming into town. So that was a huge endeavor by a lot of community people to put that plan together, and that was a COG grant. It was very competitive with the county, and they were able to facilitate the plan. This city council, not this, but a city council approved it. Could have been in Veronica's tenure. But, it's, you get the plan in place, and then you can go after the funding. So I was happy to hear via Amy that that funding was coming forth, and that Angels has a plan and Calaveras County doesn't, which is, I hate to say, pretty typical, but anyway, nice to see Angels on the forefront of that and getting some of the signage, because I think entrance signs into Angels Camp would be most helpful, knowing that they've arrived in a small town, and we have lots to see and enjoy here. So, thank you for that.
Thanks, Deb. Okay.
Comment on the community.
Go, hop in, Joe.
I understand that Debbie does a lot of work with her organization doing ribbon cuttings for some of the local businesses that open. I don't know if that happens to every business, but I would encourage the council to think about having a ribbon cutting for every business that opens in Angels Camp. I think they bring a lot of interest into our community, bring a lot of revenue into our community, and I think we need to appreciate that.
Thank you. Anybody else while I got it open? All right, we'll close public comment, and we move on to item 12, which is calendar.
It was emailed to you guys?
Yep.
One more item for calendar.
Oh, go ahead.
So I am terrible about telling you guys what I'm up to with the landscape and lighting district.
Oh, the LED, yes.
But I am sending out our next round of meetings, a postcard to all of the residents in Greenhorn. And one of the big events we're doing is going to be on the 26th, it's a Saturday. It is going to be a community sidewalk. Isabella joined us once for our last one. So we're going to have our sidewalk from 11 o'clock to about 1 o'clock. And it's very enlightening to everybody that goes on the walk.
Yeah,
I had
it
no
is.
idea some of these resources were out there. And that really is the purpose of the district. It's not streetlights and landscaping. So it's pretty cool, but then there's a lot of folks that don't like the trails, so we're going to have a Q&A at the fireside room, which is just below camps. And that's going to be from 2 to 3:30. And then we have a historical conservation committee that is formed, and they're going to have a meeting from 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock. So it's going to be a very big day on Saturday talking about the LLD. So I have a schedule of the community meetings that I can link with you guys, just so you're aware of it.
Where is the site walk starting at?
Oh, I'm sorry. We're going to start at the Selkirk Chimney.
Okay.
And then kind of wander around and look at wetlands and trails.
Yeah, I thought it was great. There was trails back there that I had never walked before, so yeah.
Yeah, so I can leave this with you. Thank you.
Thanks, Rebecca.
Thank you.
Okay, so that'll complete calendar. Thanks for throwing that in, Rebecca. And now we will move on to item number 13, adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Second it?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you, thank you. I know, but there was like, maybe they closed it. Do you fill the draft?
Caroline,
No.
that was
You
your
don't?
second it?
Yes.